Hi guys, it's Practical Mommy
and Zen Mommy with My Mommy Manual.
And today we are addressing a really juicy topic, how to talk about sex with your kids. So our kids are different ages, so we can give you the perspectives from a mom of an almost 6-year-old and an almost 8-year-old.
And a boy and a girl, which I think
Yes.
is unique. And I have 2 girls, 6 and 9. So, yeah, this is something we were talking about. I think
We've talked about it a lot over the summer.
Yeah, this summer when we were out at the lake. And it just naturally came up. Our kids were all playing together. And Ria's dog took a liking to my dog, my female dog, her male dog. So it was great because we got to be together and watch our children asking questions and then how we each fielded those questions.
And you could tell it was just, we were both so eager for the learning, for the teaching moment.
Yeah, it was like, oh good, they're asking questions and we get to teach, you know. And we're both comfortable talking about it, I think, so it was great because we got to really address it head on.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start out by just giving you my top tips, I guess.
Yeah.
About talking about sex with your children is number 1, start early and talk often. So by that I mean do not wait until they're 11 or 12 and you know they're already having, if you have a little girl, their period and they're thinking they're dying because they're bleeding and they don't know anything. I mean, that is the saddest.
Right, and they're going to hear about it at school from their friends. So I feel like empowering them with information and the right information is really
early on.
Yeah.
So for me, it's seizing the moments. This is what we did when they were little, like 2 and 3 and 4, and they're talking about potty training and bath time and looking at their bodies and why is daddy or mommy different. That's where you begin. That's your first sex talk. And how we dealt with it, I think I've told you this before, I like to equate with the little guys that were like puzzle pieces, and mommy and daddy are made differently, and we're like puzzle pieces, and that's all you really have to say. They fill in the blank. They go together. The parts go together. Right. They get that.
And this summer, I would say our first real conversation about it came in the context of my son had chicks in his classroom. So he was telling us at home that if you turn the eggs every so often, then eventually a chick will hatch. So I said, well, not exactly. It has to be fertilized. And that pretty much started the discussion. What does fertilization mean? What's the difference? And so we had the conversation that the 2 chickens parts fit together. I took the cue from Suzanne. And it kind of went from there. So
I think animals, going to a farm, I've had some friends tell me that's how they learned about sex, is they grew up on a farm. One friend of mine in particular who was awesome, he's a grandpa, and he is so great with talking about sex with his kids, his grandkids. They're so comfortable in their home, you can just tell. And it's because when he was a child, he was on a farm, and he said it was the most natural thing in the world. And I think it's such a gift to give your kids to destigmatize being able to just talk about sex, because then they're going to come to you with their questions.
Right.
Like mine did last night.
Yeah.
Can I tell you? It was so cute. Mine are 6 and 9. I'm 23 weeks pregnant. And they asked me, what night did mommy and daddy make love that the baby was fertilized? I mean, they really wanted to know.
Wow.
Like, they understand it takes a sperm and an egg, and they want to know what night did they come together and make the baby.
And my question for Suzanne is always, okay, how do you get there?
Yeah,
how do you get to the point where your kids just come to you and
like they're
say,
using the technical terms, like when did the sperm fertilize the egg?
Well, my kids are saying that, but you know, then taking it a step further to the emotional component of sex, I think is again a totally different level.
Yeah.
Well, the first time we talked about it, my kids were like, "Ew, does that mean the boy pees in the girl?"
Probably a very common thought they're having if they're not asking.
And I'm like, no.
Right.
You know, let's.
That's a really good thing to clarify. That there's a difference
between
difference. Because for a little boy, that's all they know. That's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
We have okay. The first time I addressed to that detail, we had seen the movie Marley and Me, and this is another tip: use natural times in your lives to talk about this. Don't corner them, sit them down. We're going to talk about sex now, just out of the blue. Let them have questions and come to you, and that way you know you're giving them age-appropriate information because they're asking questions. So my daughter at 6 asked, what are the ingredients for a baby? After we'd seen the movie, the woman had gotten pregnant. She said, I was making cocoa, and she's so cute. She said, Mom, you know how you're making cocoa and it takes the chocolate and the milk? What are the ingredients for a baby? And so that's when I knew, okay, now I get to talk about to the detail
The ingredients.
the sperm, you know, it looks like Drew one comes from the man, and the egg comes from the female. And the, you know, and this is the part that you mentioned though, the emotional part.
Yeah.
I think my kids think that you need to get married
Right.
to make a baby. Like you get married, then you can make love, and then you can make a baby.
Yes, and I think that there is also among our kids that from the dog experience, he really likes your dog. That must mean he wants to make a baby with your dog.
Yeah.
So, but I think again that's age appropriate, and you're gonna have other issues come up down the road.
Right. The kind of conversations I'm looking towards in the tween years, now that Riley's 9, are, we were just talking about having your period the other day, and she asked a great question. She said, so I could have a baby then, like at 11 or 12, and that's where my first time that I got to say, well, your body physically might be able to have the sperm and the egg come together, but, and then I was, you know, spoke more about being ready to be a mother and what that is, the difference between just being able to conceive a child and really have and raise a child. But we talked about other generations and how the reality of other generations is 16, 17-year-olds were getting married and having babies, or in other nations. So
Well, I think what I'm hearing is that it is a process, that it's
layers and layers and layers.
and having that open communication with your kids so that you have a comfort level, that you can talk about issues that aren't necessarily comfortable all the time.
Yes, destigmatize it, open it up, because you know what? It's going to make your job easier.
Later.
They're asking me the questions, so I know what's on their mind.
Right.
And then I just get to answer.
And I would say my one last tip is to read their cues. When they'll ask a question, you answer, and they'll tell you, you can tell when they're done. You've answered the question, and they're moving on to other things, then wait until the next opportunity to talk about it again.
Right. When they're glazed over, the eyes are coloring.
The fertilization
You're
process
going
was
on
not
it.
as interesting as they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's where Mom gets to stop talking about
About the
sex.
science of
Yeah.
it.
So we'd love to hear your experiences,
Yeah.
questions your kids have asked, the ways you fielded those questions.
Yes, please share, because everyone's going to be different and everybody's comfort level is going to be different.
Absolutely. All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.